The following is a Ham Radio Productions podcast. And hello, and welcome back to another episode of Through the Ham Radio podcast, a Stranger Things podcast. I'm your host, Ashley, and I just want to thank everyone for being back with us today. And if you haven't already, please watch our first two episodes. I think you'll really enjoy them. And in this episode, I will be discussing some Stranger Things 4 theories that have been floating out there, and my own Stranger Things 4 theories based off of the second teaser that was released back in early May of this year. I think most of you have probably seen that by now, but I wanted to kind of discuss it a little bit. And something very interesting that I heard from another podcaster. That podcast, by the way, it's Hawkins. Do You Copy? They're really good with their podcast. So if you have the opportunity to check them out, I'm sure they'd love that. But they said something that I thought was very interesting regarding 11 in season 4, and I want to get into that. So without further ado, we will begin. So there have been a lot of, a lot of theories regarding Stranger Things 4, and I must say, I can't really recall this many being floated around about season 3, but that was a long time ago. I don't really remember them, but for season 4, there are a lot, and the sad or the strange thing is that all of them are great possibilities to actually come to fruition in season 4. And I think that's the craziest thing about the theories for this season, is that they really do seem to me like they could actually happen. So we'll get into them. Okay, and these are the ones, I'm going to go through the ones that I think are probable, meaning 99.9% chance of actually happening in season 4, and then I'm going to go to the ones that are possible, meaning there's about a 50% chance of them happening. It's kind of a toss-up, if you will. So, and this will make out a first segment, and so here we go. So, one probable theory out there is I'm going to start with this one. That, we know Hopper is alive, and the theory is that he managed to jump through the crack of the gate in the mall and managed to escape through the Upside Down to Russia. And this is very probable. Hopper always has something up his sleeve, it seems like. And also what I'm going to do in this segment is I'm going to give the theory, talk about, the pros of the theories and then the cons, like why it could not happen. So that'll be it, and also do that for the possibilities too. So bear with me. Okay, now it's very probable that's going to happen, because the Duffer Brothers have said before that if you don't see a body, then they're probably not dead. So we didn't see Hopper's body. So, and we know, we can assume he's not dead. But then they released the first teaser last February in 2020, showing Hopper at a Russian gulag in Kamchatka. So that's the probability. But I look at it and I go, okay, wait. How in the world would he have known to have navigated his way? I mean, he's a smart dude, don't get me wrong. But how would he have known to navigate his way through Russia, a place presumably he's never been, and manage to get to that Russian gulag in Kamchatka, Russia? Like, how would he, would he take a map? Like, that's one thing that I kind of struggle with regarding Hopper. Now, I have also seen a theory out there that maybe Hopper jumped off the platform he was standing on just before the machine exploded, because remember, Joyce looks away. So, and the camera is panned to her during this time when she looks away, and then the blast happens. So we don't see what happens between the time Joyce looks away and it explodes, and we see nothing. So I have seen it floated out there that during that time, the cutaway from Hopper, that he just simply jumps off the platform he's standing on and goes and hides behind something. And maybe perhaps during the blast he hits his head on something or knocks him out. And some of the Russian guards or whatever see him, pull him away, and take him back to Russia with them. Now, here is where I think there's a greater chance of this happening than him jumping through the gate, because it seems more realistic. And again, hopefully they'll straighten this up for us in season 4. But the one thing that always stops me whenever I have a good feeling about a Hopper theory, how he managed to escape escape to Russia and not get blown to smithereens in that moment, is when Eleven is reading the letter that he wrote for her, intended to talk to her and Mike about. I'm sure you all know this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. In that letter, at the very end, he says, "And please, for the sake of your old dad, please keep the door open 3 inches." And that's led many to believe, including myself, that he's referring to really the gate and him, jumping through. That's about 3 inches, and that's just enough. You can get in, as we know, with the upside down. If you can manage to get something in, you can go in. But I don't know. For right now, because there is more evidence that points to it, I'm going to say that the theory of Hopper Jumping through the gate right before it closes is the more probable theory at this point. But with Stranger Things, there's always surprises. Always. So I'm going to rest my case on theory number 1. Hopper escapes to Russia via the opening in the gate. Okay, now on to next theory is the theory that Dr. Brenner is back. Now, this is the one it kind of focuses in on the recent trailer, the lab trailer. And this is kind of I include from the Hawkins Do You Copy podcast that I heard. Is Brenner alive? Do you believe that? Seriously, do you believe that? Because I do. I will believe that until I'm proven wrong. Because, again, going back to what the Duffer Brothers have said, if you don't see a body, chances are they're still alive. And we do not see Dr. Brenner's body anywhere at all. I don't think that Demogorgon killed him. Because if you got to rewatch the clip over and over and over and over again, the more you watch it, the slower it seems to get. And you will see that after the Demogorgon attacks him, and he's on the ground. We don't see that part, but we know, he knocked him over. The Demogorgon kind of jumps back up like he's being summoned somewhere. And that is why I think that Demogorgon maybe was programmed or something to not attack Martin Brenner or kill him. He moved on to something else. And I think in that moment, through all the chaos, that Dr. Martin Brenner managed to escape unseen. And that is why it leads me to my next theory. The American, I think, is Martin Brenner. I know many people have said they want to say Hopper. But again, I will not fully believe that until I'm proven wrong. I think that Dr. Brenner is feeding the Russians information about the Upside Down because I think he has turned a traitor. I think he is a traitor to his country now because he lost 11. And I think he lost his job after that. I think that's what happened. I think he was fired by the Department of Energy. Especially when things started to kind of get exposed. Rumblings. That's why the Hawkins lab covered everything up. I think he was fired for losing this girl. Because apparently this project is supposed to be top secret. Right? You'd want it to be that way if you were conducting human experiences on children. So yeah, you'd want it to be covered up. And I think that Martin Brenner, a cunning, smart man, I think he turned. I do. I think, he realized maybe I can, or maybe he was contacted by a Russian agent or something. And I think Brenner realized that he kind of killed two birds with one stone, if you will. I think he went for the money and the power, and also, I think, to get 11 back. I really do believe that, because I think he's the type of person that knows he's got a hold on 11 like a dog on a bone. I think he knows that, because 11, you know, even like in season 2, we don't really hear it much in season 3, but in season 2, she still refers to him as Papa. Like, you know, I mean, this girl was brainwashed, essentially, since she was a baby by this man. She lived with him for like 12 years of her life. And I think she was kept in isolation by him. So he was pretty much the only real form of human contact that she ever had before she ran into the party. And so I think that maybe Brenner kind of sold himself to the Russians in order to get back at America. Maybe, fire him or whatever. I mean, I don't know. But I think he's the American. I really do. But I also think he's going to be back in season 4 based on the trailer. Now, in terms of in what form or fashion, I think at this point a flashback, but he absolutely could be like some part of time travel, maybe in the future, because excuse me, that rainbow room in the teaser is not the same rainbow room that we saw in season 2 via 11 in her mother's mind. That is not the same rainbow room. It does not. It looks nothing like that rainbow room, because there was nothing in it. And in this teaser, I mean, there's all these kids. They're playing with toys. There's rainbows in it. Everything, and that's part of what makes it so creepy. It was like, okay, if this is a flashback, wow, those poor kids. But if it's the future, that's terrifying, because you're like, not only did Brenner manage to escape alive, but he's out here experimenting again on children, a different place. I don't know. I still think it's a flashback, only because 11 walks up to the room with the door number 11 on it, and her breathing gets, hurried more the closer and closer that she gets to the door, the breathing and everything, and then it stops, and it kind of cuts to a black screen, and then her eyes pop open, and she looks absolutely terrified. And also because Brenner doesn't really seem to know that she's there, if that makes sense. And neither do the children. Like, I think we are seeing that room through the eyes of 11. The rainbow room, I think we are seeing that room through 11's eyes. And I don't think those children realize that she's there. And it kind of reminds me, I don't know how much you've seen Harry Potter, but it kind of reminds me of, in Harry Potter, I forget which movie, I think it's Prisoner of Azkaban, yeah. they are using time travel, like flashbacks almost. And when Hermione and Harry and Ron kind of go back in time, the people around them don't notice that they're there, because they're going back in time to a moment. So they can see everyone else, but everyone else can't see them. You see what I'm saying? And I think Harry Potter is like an influence on Stranger Things. I think I read that somewhere. So yeah, I think that's what's happening here in this sequence, in this trailer, on the teaser, is 11 is having a flashback, or she's time traveling. And don't tell me that time traveling is not going to be in this season. I think people that say that only say that because they don't want time travel, but there's going to be time travel. I mean, Stranger Things doesn't include pop culture references in the seasons just because. It's usually for a reason, like to foreshadow. And Back to the Future was a big influence in season 3, because that's the year the movie came out, 1985. And in this teaser trailer, the clock and other stuff for season 4 that's already come out, the clocks are a big thing. And if you've ever seen Back to the Future, which is on Netflix, by the way, until June the 30th. So if you haven't, I'd encourage you to watch it. Because in the opening sequence of that film, there's clocks ticking. And what is in Back to the Future? Time travel. Marty McFly. And who goes back in time. I think by accident at first, but then once he gets there and realizes everything that's happening, he wants to make things in the future better than they were from the past to indicate, like with his parents and stuff. So I think that maybe there's time travel this season to go back in time to correct everything, or just like to figure everything out. Yeah, that's what I think. Brenner's alive, could be the American, but he's definitely back in season 4. Okay, I'm going to end this segment with this regarding what I saw on the Hawkins Do You Copy podcast. They said something very, very interesting in what they think 11 could turn out to be when it's all said and done in season 4. This is going to segue into segment 2, because I want to talk more in depth about this. So, here it is. Hawkins Do You Copy said that they believe that when it's all said and done, 11 will turn out to be the villain. Not Brenner, not the Mind Flayer, but 11. Like 11, they said they believe that 11 could really be bad, like evil, and sent to Hawkins or whatever to do harm, and escaped and was intended to do harm. But then I think, well, this is me talking. So based on what they said, I think that till she met Mike and the gang, changed her mind. And she fell in love with her friends because she never had friends before. Lost that human contact. Okay, so this wraps up segment 1. I'll pick up segment 2 where we left off, talking about this new interesting theory that if that's the direction it goes. Woo-hoo. It's going to be a fun one. Stay tuned. And we are back with the second and final segment of today's episode. And I want to thank you everyone for sticking around. Second one, I hope you really enjoyed it. So, to finish up what we were talking about at the end of segment 1, regarding 11, I think that this theory could hold up. And as the Hawkins Do You Copy podcast said, if that comes to fruition, if that's reality, then that would be, I think they said that would be like the greatest plot twist in the history of television. And it would be. Because it's like, wow, she was like that the entire time. Evil. And we just didn't know it. And it's like, they kind of said on Hawkins Do You Copy, it's like, we don't know how 11 escaped from Hawkins, or we don't know why either. And they also said, how does she know who Will was? So to me, it's like, could it have been that Dr. Brenner was maybe showing 11 pictures of certain people in the Hawkins community and, intended to cause harm? And that's how she remembered him? Because she did seem to know a lot about him, about Will. And she had never met him. And where this kind of hits home for me is in season 1 when she's in the tank, in the gym when they're looking for Will, and she finds him, like in the Upside Down or the Void or whatever, sees him, and he's in Castle Byers in the Upside Down. She talks to him as if she knows him, like as if she's met him before, and so maybe 11 really is the bad guy. And maybe that's what she was supposed to be when she showed up to Hawkins after she escaped. Perhaps maybe that's why Brenner, if you notice, he wanted to find her, but it's almost as if he wasn't really worried that much. Like, maybe he thought, well, she's going to complete her mission. Whatever that mission may be. Because that's what she's been programmed to do. But yet, I don't think he thought about her meeting a group of kids and becoming friends with them and falling in love with one of them. And I think that maybe changed her mind a little bit. And she decided, no, I don't want to use my powers for evil. I want to use them for good. I love the people here. They're like my family. I've never had a real family before. And we saw that in season 2 when Callie wanted 11 to stick around with her and her peeps to go and continue their crime spree. And 11's like, no, I've got people back home, friends, family that love me and I love them and they need me. And Callie's like, your friends can't save you. And she's like, well, no, I can, yeah, true, but I can save them. And so you see that idea of using your powers for good rather than evil really manifest itself in that moment. And add to that, don't really want to spoil too much, but I'm sure you've probably already seen it. If you haven't, just mute this part out if you don't want to hear it, or fast forward past it. But last month, or earlier this month, it's been a few weeks anyway, ago, they were filming in Jackson, Georgia, which is where they film the scenes for Hawkins, like the town and stuff. And they're filming a scene at a church, and they had this giant banner on the church. It had on scripture from the book of Romans in the Bible, and that scripture says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." And some speculated, this is in regards to D&D and all that, and it could be because the Satanic Panic was a very real thing back during this time, and it very could well be that. But I also think, based on the theories that Hawkins Do You Copy podcast and myself have come up with, I think that kind of illustrates to us, I think, that maybe 11 could be evil. But yet she has decided so far to not be overcome by the evil of her past. What has been done to her at the hands of Martin Brenner and Hawkins' lab. But instead has chosen to overcome that evil with good and save the town and all that good stuff. But again, it's possible. It could be a giant plot twist, and 11 could have been the one who created the mind flare and all that stuff all this time. But I don't know. But what I do know is that it's going to be hard for them this season. Because if 11 doesn't have her powers at all this season, I mean, we're on the assumption that she's going to get them back. She may not. I mean, she could get them back, or she could not. So we have to go on the assumption that she's powerless at this point. And so it's going to be a challenge for her and the party, especially because they're so spread out. And I get excited about it every day, even though Stranger Things Netflix hasn't released anything official. I continue to hear stuff through the grapevine, and whether it's real or not, I still get excited to see everything come to fruition and see whose theories are right, whose were wrong. And I don't think, at the end of the day, I don't think it shouldn't really amount to a hill of beans, in my opinion, who's right or wrong. Because I know for me, when it premieres, whenever that is, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to sit down and watch this season. Regardless of any theories that I had that were right or wrong, I'm going to watch it. I hope you will too. Because this show is just such a head scratcher for me sometimes, because there's so many plot holes that, I'd love to see answered. Like, why in the world was Will Byers taken? How does 11 know him? How does she know him? I think that one will probably be addressed this season because, Will and 11 are going to be living together. Have no other choice. And we've never really seen them on screen together by themselves very long. I think there's some things that they have to get out in the open between the two of them, because you'd have to think that maybe Will harbors some sort of resentment towards her. I mean, right now we can on the assumption that she's the reason that he was taken by the Demogorgon and taken to the Upside Down, and his life, it hasn't been or probably never will be the same again. The trauma that he's endured and the time in his life, his young life, his childhood that he's lost. And, to him also, she's the reason that he lost his best friend, Mike. I mean, Mike is, now girl crazy. Spent more time with 11 than with Will. But, yeah. So those are some theories that I wanted to touch on. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you will come back and join us next time on Through the Ham Radio podcast. I've enjoyed making this. I enjoyed talking about it. And so I hope you enjoy listening. And so I'm going to sign off here and keep it strange, folks. Keep it strange. And over and out.